Hello crochet friends, welcome to Crazy Cool Crochet. This is Sylvia, and in this project we are going to make this cute little crochet tank top using a super simple mesh stitch, and that's just single crochet and chains. This is so easy and so fast that it's totally beginner friendly. Even if you've just learned to crochet and you want to try to make a wearable, this is probably the easiest little top that you can learn on. Now this is super customizable. You can easily make this longer and certainly wider. You don't need to worry about multiples. Just start your foundation chain with an even number and you're good to go. So this particular design is made fairly short and a little tighter. And this is because it is meant to go under a cardigan that will be shown in a separate tutorial. And I will have links to everything in the description area below, the white space below the video. And you have to manually open that up. And this is going to be made in a size extra small to small, but again, easily customizable. I will have more information about sizing again in the description area below. Also, most of my tutorials have written patterns that will be found at the blog crazycoolcrochet.com. And if you prefer printable patterns, you can always head over to my Etsy shop. So the materials. The yarn I'm using is I Love This Yarn in Sport Weight, number 3, lightweight. The color is Sun Yellow. We'll also need scissors, a yarn needle. The crochet hook is a size H or 5 millimeter, and a measuring tape will come in handy. So let's go ahead and get started. For a size extra small to small, we will start with a foundation chain of 60 chains. So I like to start my slip knot like this, super fast, super easy. Put the hook in front of the yarn and then just twist all the way around. Leave yourself a tail so that we can weave that in at the end. And now just grab your yarn, pull it through. So sorry about that. And then there's your slip knot. So make your chains. Do 60. Okay, now make sure that your tension is not too tight when you make your foundation chain. And actually throughout this project you can use a little bit of a looser tension. Now just for this row we're going to work in the back loop of the chain. If you're new and you're not familiar with that, don't worry about it. You can just go ahead and crochet into the chain as normal. That's fine. Crocheting in the back loop for the foundation chain gives us a really nice bottom so that you don't need any kind of a border. And if you choose not to do this, that's okay too. You still won't need a border. And we are going to start with a row of single crochets starting in the second chain from the hook. You do not count the loop on the hook. There's the first one. There's the second one. So turn this over just a little bit. And you'll see those little bumps in the back. That's where you're going to enter the hook, into the little bumps in the back. The first one is usually tricky, but as long as you didn't do your chain too tight, you should be okay. Okay, let me just go ahead and make that first one. Okay, so now there's the next one, a little bump in the back. So to work a single crochet, you enter your hook into your chain, grab the yarn, pull it through. You've got 2 loops on the hook. Grab the yarn, pull through both loops. That's a single crochet. if you turn this, you can see how it's got a nice squared off flat bottom. So just continue that across the row. After you enter your last single crochet, that'll be number 59, you're going to chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to enter a single crochet into that very first space and chain 1. Now we're going to skip the next space, enter a single crochet into the next space and chain 1. Skip the next space, single crochet into the next, chain 1, and continue that pattern across the row. Okay, at the end of the row, you've got 2 spaces left. So you did your last chain 1, you're going to skip a space as usual and enter the last single crochet into that last space. And then chain 1. You would have worked, if you're only counting the single crochets, 30 single crochets. And then you will turn and repeat. So you'll enter your first single crochet into that first chain 1 space. And chain 1. You're skipping that single crochet and going into the next chain 1 space. And chain 1. And just continue that all the way to the end. Okay, now we're at the end of that row. Did our chain. Now here's where it might get a little tricky for newbies. So there's your space that we're going to skip. And now we're going to enter the last single crochet into the turning chain at the very end. So just enter your hook under the 2 strands right at the very end of the row there. And do your single crochet, chain 1, and turn. And that's all you need to do. Repeat that row for the rest of the panel. So again, you enter into that first chain 1 space, your first single crochet, chain 1, and then continue across into each chain 1 space. So for size small, we are going to work for 47 rows in total, and that is really not crucial. It's more about the length than about the actual row count. It doesn't even matter if you finish on the right side or the wrong side, by the way, as long as we're talking about right side and wrong side. The side where you started, so here's the foundation chain tail, there's the foundation chain. This is the right side. That tail will be on the left of the work. Now let me show you what we're working toward. So here is the completed panel. And it doesn't matter if it's the front or the back, they're identical. So you need to do 2 of these panels. And to measure, if you want to size this on your own, that top row goes under the underarm. That should reach to your underarm and then across the bust or above the bust. We want to cover the bust. And then the bottom, for myself, I wanted it just a little bit below the waist. So again, if you want this longer, then keep going with your rows. Just make sure that you're ending under your arm, over the bust. And then we will put the 2 panels together on the edges here. And then we're going to add the 2 little straps. So let me show you those straps. Okay, so the strap is made exactly the same exact pattern. So for my straps, I wanted it to be about 3 inches wide. So I started with a chain of 8. Remember, start with an even number. And then I just followed the pattern exactly as we did for the front panels. The only difference is when we end, we're going to end with single crochets in each space. Okay, so you'll do your regular row, chain one, turn, and then just enter a single crochet in each space. And you'll end up with 5 single crochets. Yeah, I wanted to show you how I did that last row of single crochets. And to clarify, the front and back panels, we do not finish off with a row of single crochets. We just finish with the regular row. But for the strap, I wanted to match up the bottom single crochets to the top, so that when we attach the straps to the front and back panels, it's just a smoother finish. Okay, so all we're going to do is enter a single crochet into that first space, a single crochet into the single crochet below, single crochet into the next space, single crochet into the single crochet, and just keep going across. Don't worry about the count. So there I went into the space and now into the turning chain. And now we cut it off. So to do that, I like to do 2 chains. I leave a tail. We'll call it about 5 inches. Cut it off. Pull the yarn through and then squeeze down those chains. And it gives you a nice tight knot. And of course, that's also how you cut off the yarn on the front and back panels. As for the length, mine is 12 inches. Okay, so it's going to go here. The shoulder will be right about in the middle, of course, and then the back will meet up with the back panel. So measure the length that you prefer. You might need a longer strap, in which case just keep going with your rows for the length that you want. And then we'll come back and attach that after we've attached the sides. All right, now before we seam the front and the back panels together, I wanted to mention that yes, you can use cotton yarn for this. I actually would recommend cotton yarn if you plan on wearing this tank top by itself in the summer or any time of year, but particularly if you want to wear it in the summer, you want something that's going to stay nice and cool against your skin, so cotton yarn would be best. I happen to use this acrylic yarn only because it matches up with the same yarn that I'm using on the coordinating cardigan that I'm making with this. And again, the link to that will be below in the description area. Okay, so now to do the seaming on the front and back panels, we want right sides together, wrong sides facing you. So there's the right side of one panel. It doesn't matter which is which. And there's the right side of the other panel. So now we want the right side touching this right side. So we got to flip this over. So now the right side is over here. This is the wrong side. We want wrong sides out. Okay, now we're going to use the yarn needle and the length of yarn. Now the easiest way to figure out how much yarn to cut off the skein for seaming, and I do have this particular tip in one of my crochet tip of the day videos. If you haven't checked those out, go back to the home page, go up at the top where it says videos, and look for those tip of the day videos. Now, to figure out how much yarn you need, we do 3 times the length of the seam. So there goes 1, 2, 3, and then you cut off the yarn. I always leave a little extra just for good measure, although quite honestly, I've never actually needed it. Okay, now we're going to call this the bottom. Well, actually, let's make sure. Okay, so there's that flat bottom foundation row. That's how you know that's the bottom, aside from the fact that there's your foundation row tail. Okay, so now you just take the needle, put it into the cornermost stitch of one panel under 2 strands, and then find the cornermost stitch of the other panel. Just bring the yarn through. If you have a tail, which you should, I like to tie those 2 ends just to secure everything. I usually do 3 knots. Now we're going to use a whip stitch, and that's just going around and around the 2 panels. Okay, so let's go under that, the 2 stitches right here at the beginning. Okay, so you see how you're going under 2 strands on each panel. And that's all there is to it. So just continue the seaming all the way up to the end of those 2 rows. And then do the same on the other side. Okay, so there's the placement of my straps. And I just put a stitch marker on the one side, on the inside, as opposed to, I'm calling that the outside. Okay, and now again, this is wrong side facing up, so the straps are also wrong sides facing up. And now we're just going to use the same method to seam, just that little seam on each side. And when you get to the end, leave enough of a tail so that you can weave it back into the center and hide it. Tie it up, cut it off, and then turn it around. Flip the straps down so that you can seam the other end to the other side. Okay, then you'll turn this so the other side is facing you. And then match up the placement for the seaming. And here is the completed crochet tank top. It's absolutely adorable, especially when you put it on. Now remember, this was designed to be snug and short. So if you want it to be a little roomier, remember to add a few more chains to the foundation chain. I would suggest about 10 additional chains to give yourself a little more room. And then just add rows to your preference. So make sure you head over to my home page, where at the very top of the screen, click where it says videos, and that will take you to the whole library of all of my different designs. I thank you so much for watching and hope that you return. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Add your comment below. All of this is super helpful to my channel, and I do appreciate you guys so very much. We'll see you on the next one.